This
with the list
conference
of
will
points.
now be recorded.
Okay.
I'll share it as soon as possible. I will share it through money. Okay, so for today, the agenda for today's training schedule is we will look into what are the different types of document a business analyst will work into. So I have made a compilation of 9 major documentation which are related to BA role.
Okay.
Let me start with the first document name is project vision document. This is hardly BAs will be working on this document, but I will explain you what is meant by project vision document.
Okay.
Although mainly the this particular document is meant for a client, project manager creates a project vision document. Business analysts are also expected to contribute to this document.
Okay.
A project vision document entitles the purpose and intent of the product software to be developed and describes on a high level what business objective will be achieved. This document is meant for client and project manager, although you are not entitled to work directly into project vision document, but you will be required to give contribution to the existing document. So you should be knowing these are the few jargons which the company will be using. So
Okay.
when someone says project vision document, you should be able to easily understand what is the purpose of project vision document, what topics it will cover, or it will be covering introduction. Normally, most of the document will be having a small introduction, description of users in the system, project stakeholders, project overview, features of product requirements, what are the limitations, quality or documentation requirements. These are the first documentation which you will be indirectly working as a BA. The second one is recommend management plan. Recommend management plan is used to document the necessary information required to effectively manage project requirements from project initiation till delivery. The RMP document, that is a recommend management plan, is created during the planning phase of the project. Its intent, the intended audience is project manager, project team, project sponsor. Project sponsor means again stakeholders, um, and any other senior leaders who are directly or indirectly supporting the project or supporting the plan to carry on. So this is you will be contributing, you will be working directly with the recommend management plan. It's like only for the very major, very bigger project. You will be working on it. You will be working when the project is too huge. You'll be working on the recommend management plan. So I will explain you one more time. The recommend management plan is a document that you will be working during the phase of project. Uh, to manage the project requirement from the project initiation till delivery. So it is mainly created during the planning phase of the project. It is intended for project managers, project team, stakeholders, and for the senior managers who are involved in the project. The list of areas that which are covered in RMP documents are for purpose of the plan, responsibility assessment assignment, tools and procedure to be used, approach to be defining and recommends, approach towards recommend traceability, workflows and activities, change management. These are the topics which you will be covering in RMP document.
Okay.
Third one is use cases. Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, yeah. I have a doubt in requirement management plan. So you don't work on that, but you'll be having an access to that plan, right?
I mean that you will be working. It is meant for BAs,
Okay.
but this, it's like while working on a very bigger project, very big, it's like sometimes the project will be extending for multiple years. At the time you'll be involved in work, involved in recommend management plan. This
Okay.
is this you will be not, it's like not during the initial stage of project you won't be working. This
Okay.
is during the execution of the project you will be working on recommend management plan. It's like
Okay.
how to work on the recommends, what is the purpose of the plan, what are the tools used in the work. So this is not meant for developers, this
Okay.
is meant only for the senior level people who are related to the project.
Okay. I got you.
Okay. Yeah, it is not covered during the initial phase. This the audience of the document are senior managers, senior fellows in who are directly or indirectly involved in the project. And this is for easy tracking the recommends. This document is used for the senior managers. And the third one is use cases. Could you see my Word document now?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. So use cases. Each and every project is endeavor to achieve the requirements, and that and this document defines the recommend. This recommends is a use case. A use case is a methodology used in system analysis to identify, define, and organize system requirements. Use case is created from the perspective of a user and achieves the objectives like organizes the functional requirements, iterative in nature, updated through the project lifecycle, record scenarios in which the user will be interacting with the application. It also defines other aspects like negative flows, negative user experience, UI elements, exception.
Okay.
The topic which will be covered in use cases documents are actors, descriptions, trigger, preconditions, normal flow, alternative flows, exceptions, special requirements, assumption, notes and issues. I will give you a small example where we will be using use cases. For example, I hope you know about payment gateway page, the page where transaction happens.
Yes.
Okay, in that page, who are directly involved in the pages are the end users. The end users are called actors.
Okay.
And trigger is there are plenty of fields. It's like the moment they hit in the transaction, the trigger starts. It's like I'm just giving you one explanation, but use cases will be used in multiple situations, everyday activity. In case if any developers come up with the issues, with the questions, with additional information, you have to present them through use cases. They'll be just asking for use case document. In case for even for very minor steps, you'll be working on use cases. You have to come up. This is not about documentation. Hardly will be coming up with my 2 or 3 lines. It is full and full of diagram, as mini flowchart. I wouldn't call as flowchart. It is. I will show you. Maybe try. I will try to end of the session. I will show you the images related to use cases.
Okay.
So I think I will look into my system. I have few use cases diagrams. I will share.
Okay.
So this is for this use cases document is for exclusively for your developers to understand the process.
Okay.
If, for example, customer support, that you'll be coming up with an application for the customer support team. At the time you have to explain the what is the normal flow, what is the alternate flows. There is a chance that they will be receiving calls through multiple channels. That's the normal flow is incoming calls are called normal flows. There is a chance the call could be connected through other channels. That's alternate flows. Exceptions, there is sometimes very few rare scenarios will be occurring. That is called exceptions. So everything, these titles has to be covered within the image. I will
Okay.
give you few exercise. I will come up with few cases. I will be asking you to come up with use cases. We will be having a separate at least 2 classes only on use cases. Rest of things are basic thing you can easily understand. just by going through the topic, but use cases require a lot of practices. I will be giving you two cases, but I would personally recommend you to uh, try multiple scenarios
Okay.
by yourself. But definitely I have plenty of topics related to use cases. I will share you plenty of topics, but I will restrict myself with 2 or 3 exercises related to use cases.
Okay.
Okay, this is use cases.
What about UML? So use cases can be substituted by UML, or both are the same thing? I'm getting confused. Like UML also, I think you use this like it's like a
UML is UML is part of user cases.
okay. Okay, I got you.
The next thing is user stories. User stories is the current trend at the moment. So many of the top companies are using agile methodologies. Hope you know about two major methodologies followed in IT companies. The
Yeah.
first one is agile methodology. The next one is waterfall methodology. The difference between I hope you know about the two methodologies, right? Agile and
Just one. You can just
waterfall.
give me a line on that.
Yeah. We'll be having one session on explaining about the methodology, two methodologies used. Agile is it will easy to accommodate changes. So 99.9% of the projects will require additional changes even after starting the work. So anytime any new changes can be easily accommodated using agile methodology. Waterfall, like the name suggests, only if the first condition is completed, the team will be start working on the second conditions.
Yeah.
Unless the development gets completed, the testing team will not start their work. In Agile, multiple teams can work simultaneously, parallelly, accepts changes. That's the advantage of Agile methodology. And it's more systematic. There are tons of tools available in Agile methodologies to follow the track, identify the issues, to estimate the issues. So there are tons and tons of advantages in Agile methodologies. So agile methodology teams calls user recommends as user stories. So a, a user story is a document which describes the functionality of a business system that should provide a written document from the perspective of end users, customers. I mean, end users and customers are same, and clients. So the document has to address from the perspective of both user and clients, end users and clients. So normally and user stories are not very descriptive. Normally, if you compare to BRD and FRD documents, they are so excessive. Sometimes some pages will be extending up to 40 pages also. But in Agile, teams don't expect the user story in a very long, lengthy description,
Okay.
or not very descriptive, and only captures who, what, why in the recommend. Because BAs are so happy in coming up with multiple pages document. Unfortunately, I have never seen developers. Maybe probably QA people does go through the recommend sheet, but developers will be not happy or not excited about reading the documents. So they skip major topics. Summary they won't be going through. Scope they will be won't be going through. Maybe very first time they'll be going through, but they don't refer the document much. So in order to make the work or make the life easier for developers, it's like the management requests BA to not to be so explanatory, to be put in a easy points so that anytime developers can refer the document. It will be more boring for the document or for the developers to read a very lengthy document. That is the reason we should be putting it in points. Maximum the scope should be around 5 or 6 lines, not to exceed. There is nothing wrong if it goes for multiple lines, but there are a few best practices out there. Depending upon the project, it varies. Some bigger project requires bigger, lengthier documents. That's not, we don't have any control on the document size. So the agile environment uses user stories. It describes the functionality of the business system, and it is written from the perspective of both user and clients. See, before writing user stories, normally you don't write document for what's the name? I forget. Epic. See, Epic is the requirements given by client. You have to break down the work to user stories. For example, just assume that I'm a client. I have a requirement of developing an e-commerce platform for the products which I own. For example, I may be having an automobile. I may be running an automobile company. I intend to start an e-commerce company where the website will be selling the automobile parts. So this is the recommends given to you. You are the liaising, you are the BA who will be coordinating the client and the ID team. At the time, the recommend which I have given is a epic. Epic means I have just to give you a vague recommend. I'm just asking for a e-commerce site for my products. You have to break down them into multiple user stories. It's like you have to initially you have to see web development is one phase, product listing is another user story, transaction is another user story. Once after successful completion of the transaction, the process has to be tracked, the order has to be tracked, a mail has to be triggered to both the client and the end customer who purchased the product, and delivery also has to be tracked. I'm just sharing a very few four user stories.
Okay.
An e-commerce web page will have close to minimum 50 plus user stories, just like that. Home page is a different user story. Then backend is another user story. In backend, we can divide the concept into multiple user stories. Vendor management can be another user stories. Analytics, it's like the every client wants to have analytics page. They want to see the best performing product, number of products which were sold in the website. Inventory management is another user story. Inventory management has to be part of the e-commerce. The client will not break down the work. It's up to the BA and project management team to break down the work. Before going into project management phase, it is strongly the quality of the BA will be calculated based on how he breaks the work and come up with the requirements. So
Okay.
this is the sample difference between epic
BA will be
and user
responsible for
stories.
writing the user stories and giving it to developers.
Exactly, yes. In a single shot, you cannot cover whole recommend documents for e-commerce website. I'm just saying for this e-commerce related application. So in that moment, you have to break down the work, assign the work in on user story basics.
Okay.
The moment when they start working on the homepage, parallel you'll be working on the user stories related to backend inventory management, product management, how the UI should be looking, how the transaction should happen. So currently, if you look into the multiple e-commerce pages, the transaction will be happening in three different phases. In the first page, the transaction will be collecting the inputs from the customer, first name, last name, your address, delivery address, gift address, etc. Second page is where you'll be typing in the bank info, a confirmation page where
No.
you will be asked to give the confirmation about the product which you intend to purchase. You have to accept, right? And the third phase is about typing in the bank information, credit card information, or multiple payment gateways. Like you can be paying through a wallet, you can pay through cash on delivery or existing credit cards, net banking, etc. So these are the minimum three phases. It has to be even break down into multiple parts for easy understanding of um, development team.
Okay.
Okay, so just imagine how hard it would be for you to come up with the whole documentations. It's like if we are going to come up with single documentation, it may be hard for the developers to track the project.
Yeah, you're right.
The more it's like the more you break down, easy for the developers and the project management team to have a track on the progress of the work. That's it.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So,
you are not required to break it sequentially,
okay.
at least in the order where it's easy for the developers to understand, differentiate the modules.
Okay.
So that's it. Sorry, you were about to ask a question.
So I
Sorry
have a
to
doubt. I
interrupt.
don't know what happens in the current like exact scenario in the office. For example, a team of maybe 4 to 5 business analysts spoke with some X company. and X company told that we need this epic, like whatever you said, we need an
Epic.
e-commerce website where we list our automobile or some, like you say something like Amazon or Flipkart.
Hmm.
Okay, so they'll be telling there about their website. So these people, all the five business analysts, they sit together and sit together. I don't know how they work basically in the office. They create user stories, like maybe around 40 user stories, and there are maybe like 10 development teams in the office. So they'll divide that into divide those 50 stories into the 10 developer teams. I don't know how is it going. So each of them will be working parallelly. I want to I was just curious to know what happened in the real scenario.
Okay, it is depending upon the resource size. So for
Okay.
example, you have given a case 50 sorry, 10 different teams are there, 50 user stories are there, and 5 business analysts are there. Yes,
Okay.
every BAs will be assigned some top modules. One will be assigned with transaction related things, another will be related with backend, another will be front end. Parallelly, they have to a weekly. It's like in Agile we call sprint. We
Okay.
normally sprint can stretch between minimum of 2 weeks.
To four
It's
weeks.
like not minimum two. It's like sometimes even depending upon the team size, depending upon the company, depending upon the requirement, the sprint can vary from a week also. But the standard sprint size is 2 weeks to a month, or sometimes even extend to 6 months also.
Okay.
Okay, you have to choose a user story where a developers can complete the work within the sprint duration. Say your company follows a sprint with the duration of 1 month, means the sprint duration includes both the work of QA team and development team. QA team will be development team may take up to 3 weeks to complete the development, and the final work will be assigned to QA team. So this is the sprint,
Okay. I got you, but
and you are not requested to assign the work to them. Project management, depending upon the story points, it's called a hardness of the topic or the user stories. According to the toughness, according to the hardness of the work, the project management team will be assigning the user stories to the development team.
okay. Coming to the agile, it's like parallel, right? Like QA would be like both will work parallelly, right? Both
Exactly.
as well as the
All 10 teams will be working on the user stories in multiple topics, multiple pages. That's right.
Okay, so you said if you take a sprint of 4 weeks, first 3 weeks dev team works and the last 1 week QA team works. How does it work? What about the other 3 weeks of QA? What they would be doing?
They will be parallelly, they will be it's like see sometimes, most of the times in a sprint they may not be able to complete the full work. See,
Okay,
the core work will be completed. Definitely there will be some spillages.
okay, got you.
And the spillages will be taking, it's like if say for example 5 teams, if we have a 10 teams, 5 teams will be working on the user stories, and the rest 5 teams will be working on mini areas. It's like bugs, spillages from the previous sprint. So it's like we won't be having, for example, that if there is 10 development team means the ratio of developers and QA will be bit different, 2:1 ratio.
Okay, got you.
So they will be rotated. QA team will be. This is the standard process. According to the company size, the process varies. But agile, like whatever we discussed, it's same, irrespective of the companies.
Okay,
Parallelly, work will be happening. Yeah. This is about user stories. So mostly in case at the moment, the major companies, major startups uses agile. It's like they'll be taking at initially before start working, at least for 2 days they'll be doing the groundwork. They'll be breaking the work into user stories, assigning the user stories to the BAs even before starting off the development phase. Though it takes time, they will make sure that only after completion of user stories development phase starts.
okay,
And so that continuously, earlier I have seen many BAs, I have seen multiple BAs. There are many projects which will be running for 8 months, 1 year. So BAs work will be completed in the first month. Sometimes most of the BAs will be going to client on-site location, collecting the requirements and delivering the document to the development team. Till the delivery they will be hardly working.
Okay.
It's like a bench. I hope you know. So they'll be just coming, having a chit chat. They'll be just sitting idle in the room. So for almost for the 7 months they'll be just sitting idle. But in user stories, it's like the work is divided into multiple user stories. So continuously, it's like for the first 2 weeks they'll be working on the user stories. So normally within 2 weeks you'll be completing user stories. The next
Okay.
2 weeks you'll be validating the previous user stories which were delivered by the development team. Yes, you
Okay.
have to validate before putting into the master. Master is the main application.
Okay.
Okay, that's it. It's about it doesn't require to be descriptive. There are two types of user stories. I'm not going to explain about the two different types of user stories today. Our agenda is I will share you the list of documents which are used by BAs. There will be a separate session for user stories also.
Okay.
On the day I will give you an example and I will ask you to work on a few topics.
Okay. Sure.
So yeah, make sure that it is not brief or is not more descriptive. That's about user stories.
Yes.
So if any requirement is too big for a single user story, break them down into number of user story, making it easier for estimation and discussion. In such cases, the main user story will be acting as epic. It's called parent or epic user stories.
Okay.
So some examples I would like to share it with you. um, it's like examples. Mm, okay, for example, even a login screen is also a user story.
Okay.
Maybe I think today I should be giving you exercise. Yeah, maybe end of the session I will list out one exercise. So it's like a login page is one user story. So validating the login credentials is also another user story.
Okay.
So see how it's like. I will explain you one more thing also. It's like you uh, before starting the work, there will be a session where project manager, BA, QA head, and development SME or TL will be discussing on the user stories. See,
Okay.
sometimes, for example, creating a login page is easy. You cannot assign one whole sprint for this user story, right? For collecting information or collecting a form for sign up form or for a bank. Yesterday we discussed about a case called opening a savings account through online through bank's website.
Yes.
The
So
first
what you
phase
trying to
involves.
say, while writing user stories, before writing user stories, BA will be discussing with SME or team leader, or project manager, and then he starts writing user stories, depending upon how much work is needed, right?
Exactly. See, the
Okay.
purpose of what I'm saying is to calculate these story points.
Okay.
Okay, it's like what I'm trying to tell is, for example, few user stories will be so easy. Collection of details through form is so easy. Within a week of span, any developers, I'm just saying one developer can complete it.
Okay.
This is not that much big. See, actually, the meeting, the agenda of the meeting is to calculate story points. The meeting is called planning poker.
Okay.
In planning poker session, you will be asked. See, you know the user story topic. You need to explain in a three to four lines. You have to explain what is the purpose of the user story and ask them the story points number. See, in planning poker, everyone will be having cards. The cards numbers will be using Fibonacci series. The number will be in the combination of 2, 4, 8, then 13, then 15, 19. You'll be having some 6 cards. Okay, the card numbers will be 2, 4, 6, 8. I will share you the cards and photos after the end of the session. Okay,
Okay.
and just don't think about the cards. It's like you will be collecting the story points from the development and QA team. Sometimes, for example, for online form submission, you will be asking what would be the story points. This doesn't comes under BA. Out of interest, I'm just sharing. This will be headed by project management for
Okay.
breaking user story and for assigning user stories to development team. This exercise is being held.
Okay.
It's like you'll be asking the story point value for online submission form. The
Okay.
development team and QA team will be sharing their own story points. For example, a development team will be saying the story point value would be 4, and QA will be telling from the terms of testing, they will be telling maybe 6, because it requires multiple forms, multiple fields, multiple dependent fields, multiple options to be collected. So they have to validate in a lengthier manner. So they may be telling the story point value as 6. You have to find the average and mark it down. Okay, anything less than 8 is a very small user stories.
Okay.
People, one developer is capable of handling use story points value up to 19. In a single sprint, one developer can handle 19 story points. So that according to that, the project management team calculates and assign works for both BA and to the development team. So for example, the online form value is 5 means another 2 more work will be assigned to BA and the development. BA has to come up with the user story for story point value worth of 19 approximately. This value depends upon varies according to the companies, according to the size of the team, according to the multiple parameters. See, it varies according to the different companies. It is like a Scrum meeting. These are part of Scrum. So you're at the moment you don't need to get worried. I'm just explaining how Agile works.
Okay.
Okay, just I will explain about the story points also. Story points is the hardness of the work. On an average, a developer can work in a single sprint. In a single sprint, which stretches for a month, one developer can complete story points value up to 19. Simple as that. Do you have any questions in it?
No.
This comes excessively for Scrum meeting. For Scrum Master course, it's not required for you, because there will be a Scrum Master also sitting in a bigger IT companies who will be also part of the planning poker team. Okay, this is about the purpose of this planning poker is to prioritize which user stories to be scheduled for the next sprint. Okay,
Okay.
for BAs to understand it's like BA cannot see, BA don't have enough technical expertise. So with the help of both QA and development team, he can able to choose the number of user stories and how many numbers and which user stories should be prioritized for the next sprint. That's it. That's the purpose of user stories.
Okay.
So yeah, then the next thing is a business BRD document. This is you'll be mostly you'll be working on it at the moment in Agile. Yes, very first time in the beginning of the work you'll be working on the business recommend document. Part of it's like a one thing every time we'll be working on BRD document. So this BRD document is created to describe the business requirements of the product or the process and the intended end results that is expected by the stakeholders. It is the one of the most widely accepted project recommend document, and throughout the project lifecycle it is referred in the name BRD.
Okay.
BRD mainly focuses on answering what is the business solution as opposed how to achieve the business solution. Okay, I just understand the different. It's like you are not going to explain how to achieve business solution. The document has to focus and answer on what is the business solution.
Okay.
You can feel free to call. Sorry,
How to would be FRD, right?
how to?
How to, you said business requirement document is all about
business perspective document in terms what is the exact recommend by the stakeholders, client.
And FRD would be how to bring that solution, right?
What are the solution you are proposing for the recommends?
Functional requirement documents.
This is not FRD, this is BRD, business
I don't know.
recommend document.
Here it talks about the business solutions and how to will be talked in the FRD. Am I right or wrong?
Exactly, 100%, that's right, bullseye.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So as BRD is like it's like normally with the experience you will be asked to work on your own, but BRD is created with the help of project team. BA is the front end face of the BRD document, wholly owned by the owner of the document is BA, and this is created with the help of BAs sometimes, client stakeholders, SMEs of your IT team. That is, SMEs include project head, TLs, senior developers, and other stakeholders like indirect stakeholders, indirect like clients.
Okay.
So it is the communication tool between company and stakeholders, external, maybe external or internal. That is client and the company. This is
No.
not meant for developers.
Okay.
Okay, this is about BRD. Okay, the business BRD document contains project background, business goals and objectives, which you collected from the clients, stakeholders, recommend scope, functional recommend, not in brief. Just put it in points. What are the major functional areas that the project will be covering? Data recommends, non-functional recommends, interface recommends, business glossary definitions, dependencies of existing system, assumptions. You have to be more creative and come up with this document. Only if this document is being approved by the client, you'll be start working on the other documents FRD.
Okay.
Okay, there is a standard template we have for BRD documents. So end of the session, I will share you that template.
Okay. Thanks.
It's like you can be creative. The template is a bit outdated. Normally, I never follow the template. It's like whatever you feel, whatever you have captured during the data collection phase, you have to. You can feel free to change the titles. It's like make sure that business people, that is the client, can able to follow the document. It shouldn't be more technical, shouldn't be more functional. It's like the scope summary has to be very clear. The most important thing is scope of the document, and functional document, not insight on an outline. Holistically, you have to put up the functional recommends. So other recommends are sometimes the infrastructure involved for the project. Should it be going through a cloud or a dedicated server? What sort of server recommend should be? What type of server, Linux or Windows? So basic recommends. You shouldn't be going too depth on the technical part. That's about a BRT document.
Okay.
So next is I think RTX. Yeah, it's called Recommend Traceability Matrix. You won't be straight. It's not for BAs. Like recommend traceability matrix is used to record and track the relationship of the project recommends to design, document, develop, test, and release the project, release the product or project. So it's like do you know Grant chart?
No. Brand. Yeah.
Grant, GRANTT. It's like this is it's like you are part of this document, but you are not directly involved in RTM. Being a person who knows the full recommends, full cycle of the project, will be directly involved in it. This is the owner of the document is project managers or project management team or scrum master, depending upon the companies. uh, See, every company has their own luxury. If their project, if the client is so big, if they have enough finance, for every work they will be assigning a person. For Scrum Master they will be running having a person, QA head, development SMEs, project managers, to easily track. So you cannot expect the same process in every companies. So every company has their own style. So that is okay. So there, I will repeat it one more time. It's like RTM document is used to record and track the relationship of the project requirements to the design, documentation, then development, testing, and the release of product. This is done mainly in Excel sheet. It's like you are not no no Word document is required, but still you can do it in tables, which lists the complete user and the system requirements for the work, which in turn map to the respective documents like FRD, design document, software module, test cases, etc. It's like a main. This document is maintained for the life cycle, SDLC purpose, and the various releases in the project. And it is a vital. It is a very important document to track the project scope, requirements, changes in the product. This is very common to whole of the IT team managed by project managers to know the process and the progress in the project. So
Yeah,
you
I
will be
was
directly involved in
RTM when I
us.
was working as a QA.
Okay, cool. So the titles covered in RTM are recommend IDs, recommend description, functional recommends, statuses, architectural design document. I have never seen architectural document in my life. In within the past part of this document, technical specification, software module, test case numbers, dates, etc. Okay, so this is about RTM, and then functional recommend specification or FSD, functional specification documents. So functional recommend specification. A functional, it's like it describes the intended behavior of the system or the product, including the data, operation, what would be the input, what are the expected output, and the properties and the behavior of the system. In BRD, the requirements are high level, uh, and they are written in more detail to capture each and every aspect of the requirement. You should be focusing on it's like attention to detail on every small minor steps has to be focused on the FRD document. It's like it's a more technical, accurate, and descriptive of the even minor documents has to be properly descriptive. It's like it's equally this though the owner of the document is BA, it is equally used by developers, testers, and client, that is stakeholders. This is I would call FRD as the Bible for both developers and testing people. Test cases are completely written only based on FRD. Hope you might have worked with FRD in your
Yes,
previous
yes.
company experience. So the areas that which we will be covering in FRD segment are product context, assumptions, constraints, dependencies, functional requirements, user interface UI requirements, usability, performance, maintainability and manageability, system interface, integration, security, requirements, confirmation, sign off. You can feel free to change the topics. These are the general recommended, suggested best practices titles to be included in the document according to my comfortable level, according to the demands of the requirements. I'll be changing to titles as per. If I'm so clear about the requirements, I wouldn't be including assumptions. Sometimes to be in safer side, I'll be including assumptions. Sometimes the client may not be sharing the enough information at that time. The information which I doubt, which I don't have full clear picture on it, I'll be marking those areas under assumption. Constraints, what are the constraints is available with respect to the recommends, with respect to the work. It's not more about recommends, it's about the work. Dependencies, what are the other dependencies, functional recommends, UI recommends, usability, user experience, what would be the performance after the development phase, so how to manage, how to maintain. So these are the areas that we will be covering under FRD document. Every
Okay.
company calls in a different name. Sometimes some people call FRS, FSD, and some companies, there are companies which I have worked who will be calling FRD is only for a high and high level diagrams. FRS is for initially for starting. You might not be knowing what are the challenges you will be facing. So while starting, that is prior starting the project, you will be asked to work on FRS. FRS is the basic level understanding of the project. Once the project starts going, you'll be asked to work on FRD in a very higher level manner. So, but I would say everything are same. Just some images will be bit different. Once you start working on it, you'll be adding few more modules to the diagrams. That's it. FRD will accommodate more changes. FRS is a vague, very outline topic. Yeah,
Okay.
that's it. Yeah. Depending upon the person, I normally call it whatever the recommend. I just call it as FRD, irrespective of the situation. While starting, depending upon the project managers will be calling FRS. That is before kickstarting the project. Okay, then SRS, yes, a detailed document. FRS is either it is called SRS or SRD. SRS is System Recommend Specification. SRD is System Recommend Document. A detailed document is it's a detailed document containing the information on how to complete the system and how to function. It will be enumerating the hardwares involved, softwares, functional behavior recommends of the system. And this the document should also elaborate the recommend from the perspective of observational behavior. It sometimes it should also cover user experience, and in this thing it shouldn't be considering technical or design bias. The
Okay.
areas that we will be covering in SRS and SRS or SRDS: project perspective, product functionalities, user characteristics, general constraints, assumption, dependencies, external interface recommends, functional recommends, classes, object, non-functional recommends, inverse recommends, time constraints, sequence diagrams, data flow diagrams, state transition diagrams, change management process. For your understanding, I'm just explaining about SRS. Mostly it's like SRS and FRD will be amalgamated into a single document. If you're working in a very lengthy insurance, banking related, that will be stretching for multiple years. Only in those cases, very selected, very few cases, you will be getting a chance to work, or you'll be asked to work on the document called SRS. So other than that, hardly, very hardly. At the moment, I have never seen any other It's like most of the BAs, my friends, have stopped working in FRS. That is before Agile methodologies. These are the documents which were extensively used. So now the project management team don't encourage us to come up with multiple documents. Mostly, to my knowledge, from my experience, from my past 5 years experience, they will be limited to FRD and BRD. If it's going to be a minor, it's like a tiny project which will be stretching for 6 months. We'll be working only on two things: FRD and BRD. No SRS, no SFS, nothing.
Okay.
So, and the final thing is test cases. Test cases are not meant for BAs, but it is always good follow, understand the test cases. So although BAs are not explicitly asked to create test cases, but it is a very good practice to able to follow and understand what they constitute and how to create one. And sometimes while validating, it will be easy for you to test functionalities by referring to test cases while mailing or while communicating. If you could able to follow test cases, you can include the numbers also. Sometimes if there is any issues with the recommends, you can manually go through the test cases written by the QA team. So test cases, I think you know much better than me about test cases. It is a document, it is a set of test data, preconditions, the actual behavior, expected behavior, variables, expected results will be created to validate, verify, to track on the functionalities. So think you have a more better experience than me in going through test cases, how test cases should be documented. So it's like it is a standardized document for the QA team, and it is referred every time while they test, while matching or mapping the requirements and to undergo the testing phases. So the titles involved in the test cases are in the test case documents are test case ID, test scenarios, prerequisites, where you won't be following all these titles. Mostly depending upon the team, they will be the extensively used test cases columns are test case ID, test scenarios, expected results, actual results, status. So these are the majorly used columns, I assume. So
Okay.
these are the 9 different documents. Apart from that, there are also a few more documents which are used by BA people. I will list out, I haven't mentioned it, but I will try to share other documents also. Normally, the other documents are business cases. This is for your personal understanding, and while working on the data collection, requirement collection, you'll be working on the business case. This document describes the solution options, comparison, and the recommended solution based on the parameters relevant to the organization. Other things are a business analysis plan, a plan listing the activities that should be carried on the project. It's like generally you have to submit business analytics plan to the project management team. These are part of project plans. BRD, like we discussed, yes, recommends for the project. Sometimes you will be asked to work stakeholder management plan while meeting, discussing. This is more about agenda. So when you meet the stakeholders, you need to create this document. After meeting, you have to submit the same document for the acknowledgement. So you have to create the document strategy, how to handle the stakeholders, how what are the modules that you will be covering while the recommend collection. These are not most more familiar, but it's always advisable to at least know these kind of jargons. Sometimes they will be asked to come up with the stakeholder management plan. SRS, yes, we discussed. A gap analysis document. A gap analysis document is a document which is prepared in commercial off the shelf product implementation product. This document normally describes the gaps between the process to be implemented was the existing processes. So these are meant for gap document are meant when you discuss with the stakeholders. You have to explain what to be implemented and what as is current processes. Other documents are solution approach document. So other things, yeah, rest of things we have covered. Sometimes, yeah, another document, important document is change request logs. Periodically, you'll be the class stakeholders will be coming up with changes. So it is there is no set of template followed in change request logs, but it is about 3 columns. The first column is date followed by change request, then either a BA owner name or project manager's name. That's it. Or you can include 4 columns: date followed by change request, BA status accepted or declined, and then project management team. That's it. It's like internal for the more documentation you have, easy to work on the processes. So these are the best practices. Change request logs. Other things. What else? There is another document which is not meant for BA. It is impact analysis document That's for your company's management. Normally, the impact analysis document captures the details of changes, including value of the project, impact on the time frame, cost. Sometimes a new change may may cost additional. The companies, the IT service company may charge additional amount for the new changes. So impact analysis document is for the IT company management and BAs. You are not directly involved, but sometimes the manager will be asking the severity of the changes, priority of the change, time duration for implementing the changes. So this effort, or what would be the effort? So impact analysis document is for the management team, but your input will be requested. Other than that, um, yeah, that's it. Sometimes product backlogs, that is, this is for your personal understanding.
Okay.
So while working on the user stories, you'll be assigned some at least 30-40 user stories. So you can schedule based upon the story point value. You can set in the backlogs. It's just the order, sorting order, that's it, nothing more than that. Sprint backlogs not meant for you, but your input on the user stories will be required by the project management team for coming up with sprint backlogs. Burn up charts, again, I remember that is for project management team. That's it. That's These are the major documents which ES will be directly involved.
Okay.
Okay, so we will be going deep out of all this thing, FRD, BRD. I will be sharing you template. Template, again, the template will be having only these topics, more than that. We'll be going in depth on user stories and use cases and
Okay.
UMLs. These are the three areas you should be mastering on. So these are the areas in future classes we'll be covering. So I think Money has created a group, so I will try to share additional documents if there is any additional documents required through that group. Else, even I will have a track of what are the areas we will be agendas of the next sessions will be. I will
Okay.
try to put those things in the WhatsApp group.
Okay, sure.
So, yeah. Any questions related to today's session?
No, I'm good.
Okay. In case if you have any questions, feel free to reach me over the WhatsApp group or through Money. Okay. In case if you have any questions, just mark it for tomorrow's. I will feel free to ask me any questions related to BA.
Okay.
Then from tomorrow or from day after tomorrow, I will try to give you exercises so
Okay.
that parallel you can start working on in your
Okay.
free time.
Okay.
Okay. Good. That's it. I'm signing out now.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.